Hi, my name is Dave Johansson, and I'm the co-owner of Blossom Hill Crafts Pottery in Los Gatos, California. Today's video is going to be on wedging, in fact, cut wedging. So this looks a little bit different than sort of the elegant method where you've seen people turning clay. It's kind of quick, dirty, but quite effective. So what we need here is obviously a piece of clay. This is the clay I'm going to wedge. And what I want to do is I want to get this clay into the shape of a brick. So I'm going to drop it down on the table and sort of pull it along the surface of the table. I'm not just slamming it down, I'm pulling it along the surface of the table. And that sort of gets it kind of brickish. Now I'm going to take it and set it so the wide part of the brick is facing me. And I've got a wire tool here. I'm going to shorten the wire. I'm going to pull the wire through the clay right in half, cutting the clay in half. And then I'm going to stack the two halves on top of each other. And as I did that, I pretended like there was a hinge at the back of the clay, and I just hinged it, just like that. It's important to do it the same way every time so we don't lose track of what we're doing. Now I'm going to take these two halves and I'm going to slam them down into the table until the two halves become the width of one. Now, if you look at this piece of clay, I actually have two layers of clay. So I'm going to stand it up again so that my layers are going vertical to the tabletop. And I'm going to cut it in half again. Now I'm going to hinge it at the back and stack the two halves on top of each other. And I'm going to slam this down into the table until the two halves become the width of one. Now something to notice here when you look at this, first I had 2 layers, now I have 4 layers. If I keep going in this same pattern, every time I do this, the number of layers will double. If I do it 10 times, that's 2 to the 10th, or 1024. So we're just going to keep going here. When you're first learning this, what I recommend is that you do it 10 times. Now if you look at my clay, one of the things you'll notice is that there's no fingerprints anywhere. That's because I'm not grabbing it with a death grip. I want this surface to stay nice and smooth, and this surface. You'll also notice that I'm only hammering it down this way and then 180 degrees this way. These other edges here, I'm not paying any attention to. So let's continue. I'm going to cut it in half. And really try to get it in half. It makes your life a lot easier. I'm going to stack the two halves on top of each other, and now I'm going to throw them down into the table until the two become the width of one. So a word about slamming the clay down into the table. Notice that I'm not throwing it hard. I'm simply using the weight of the clay, and I'm keeping my hands on the clay all the way to the table, so that I'm guiding it so it hits flat. I'm not just dropping the clay. But you don't want to get this too thin. If you get this too thin, the clay becomes hard to work with, and it's going to be even more difficult when you get over to the potter's wheel. So let's just keep going here. One more time. Cut it in half, hinge it at the back, stack the two sides on top of each other, slam it down until the two become the width of one. What's really important as you cut this is that you keep the clay going in the same direction every time. So all of my layers are going this way. If it was, some of them were going this way and then some of them were going this way, that would be wrong. They all have to be going this way. They're stacked up like pancakes. All right? So when you're learning, I want you to do this 10 times. I'm going to stop right here. I should do it 10 times, but I don't want to make this video any longer. So now I have this shape that's sort of decidedly not round, and we're going to make a round object, so I need to get it roundish. So now I'm going to kind of lightly hammer this on the sides that I was ignoring until I get it into the shape of a square or kind of a flat cube. Not perfect, but sort of just, you know, kind of a little bit cubish. So there we go. Now I'm going to set it back down on the table and I'm going to roll it like this. So my wrists are moving from noon, 9, 6, 3. Noon, 9, 6, 3. I'm not pushing down hard. My hands are loose. I'm just rolling the clay. And what that does is it rounds the bottom. So you're going to put the round side down on the wheel when you throw so that it pushes the air out. And now all I'm going to do is kind of hammer the corners so I don't have sharp corners, just to make my life easier on the wheel, and it becomes kind of roundish. Not perfectly round, but roundish. And that is how you cut wedge. Thanks for listening. Again, I'm Dave Johansson, and this is Blossom Hill Crafts Pottery. Bye now.